Uh-oh.
In her last two fights. Good way hitting him from that way down.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. An update to a story I talked about in my previous video, how Cecilia Brækhus means to challenge reigning champion of Slovenia, Emma Kozin, for what are Emma's WBC and WBO junior middleweight titles. Confirmation that the fight between them will be going down on the undercard of Virgil Ortiz versus Sergey Bohachuk as part of a Golden Boy Promotions show. It's going down here in America, folks. Neither fighter will have home field advantage, neither Cecilia or Emma.
Cecilia could have used some home field advantage for this fight.
She will be fighting a naturally bigger woman and a bigger puncher who is 17 years younger than she is, that also happens to be a southpaw.
An uphill battle.
Cecilia Brækhus sports professional record of 37 wins with 2 losses, 1 draw, 9 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 40 professional bouts.
Lost 2 times, but both times she lost, it was to the same woman. It was to Jessica McCaskill.
Slovenia's Emma Kozin sports professional record of 24 wins with 1 loss, 1 draw, 12 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 26 professional bouts. Her lone defeat came at the hands of Clarissa Shields, and needless to say, losing to Clarissa, there's no shame in that. So Emma goes into this fight with couple of advantages: that she's bigger, that she's younger, punches harder.
Sounds like a hard night's work for Cecilia.
If Cecilia Brækhus can pull off this miracle, can pry the WBO and WBC titles away from Emma, that would be enough to get her back on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list, on the premise that she reigned not just as a champion at welterweight, but an undisputed champion for several years and many, many fights. Something like 24 or 25 successful title defenses. She came very close to breaking Joe Louis's record for successful title defenses, but, you know, Jessica McCaskill upset the plans for her.
In any event, if somehow Cecilia can pull off this miracle and win this fight and become the junior middleweight division's unified champion, that will be enough to get her a cushy spot on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. She has the kind of body of work that down the line, many years from now, will be very, very hard to duplicate.
She first became a champion way back there in 2009.
Reigned as a champion for 11 years.
Was not unseated as a champion until many, many, many years later in 2020.
By Jessica McCaskill.
It's just unfortunate that the people here in America didn't catch word or wind about Cecilia Brækhus until she was already up there in age, until she was already getting older and showing signs of slippage. At her very best, she was always a cerebral fighter. Cerebral. But there was a time when she packed more of a punch.
That time has passed.
And I don't know what the plan is going to be for fighting someone so much bigger and stronger than she is. Having been the cerebral fighter, the calculated, cunning fighter that she has been, there's some things that are just hard to overcome. Physicality and age,
they are not on her side.
But if somehow she can grind out a win against Emma Kozin, she will be reintegrated into the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list somewhere in the top 5.
She would have to be if she's still out here fighting fighters that are bigger and younger than she is and winning at 42 years old. If she won, you would have to rank her as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, as most fighters are not going to be out here at 42 years old winning belts.
That is just not the norm.
See what happens in August.
In men's lightweight news, on the heels of the collapse of what was supposed to be Lomachenko versus Davis, Davis is now in the market for a new dance partner. Among Davis's potential opponent options, according to Mike Kopinger, for the fall, a rematch with Usyk Cruz, who defends his 140-pound title versus Jose Valenzuela next month, William Zepeda, the number 1 lightweight contender with all 4 sanctioning bodies, and Shakur Stevenson, the lightweight champion who is now a promotional free agent.
Let's get down to brass tacks. It's not going to be Shakur.
For a number of reasons. Shakur's stock isn't on the up and up right now, not after his last 2 fights, his last 2 performances, and stylistically, Shakur's style doesn't do Gervonta's any favors. His minimalist approach to boxing, just looking to land 1 big counter so you can move in. Against Shakur, that window of opportunity, it won't open. It won't be there. He'll fight you long distance, long range, and because he's taller and longer and has speed of his own, mobility of his own, it would be very difficult for Gervonta to close the distance, to get close enough to him to land punches. So it's not gonna be Shakur. I'm not convinced it's going to be William Zepeda either. He's over there on the Golden Boy Promotions side of things, and I don't think that Oscar is willing to sacrifice yet another one of his unbeaten fighters to Gervonta Davis. Not after what happened with Ryan Garcia.
He got knocked out.
As protective as Oscar has been of William when it comes to Shakur Stevenson, I think he's going to be protective of him when it comes to Gervonta. Bear in mind that William is under no threat of being stopped or dropped or knocked out by Shakur, and Oscar won't let him fight Shakur, so I don't think he's going to let him fight Gervonta.
Then who is William going to fight?
Maybe he'll fight Ukraine's own Denis Berinchik for his WBO title, but he's not fighting Shakur, we know that, and I don't think he's going to fight Gervonta. I don't think that is going to happen. Which leaves Usyk Cruz, rather the winner of Cruz versus Valenzuela, set to go down next month on the undercard of Crawford versus Madrimov. Now, if Usyk Cruz wins,
a rematch with Gervonta will be bigger than the first fight was, because the first fight, in it, he was just a late replacement and no one knew him. About 2 years later, people are more familiar with Usyk Cruz. He is riding high, so to speak, after knocking out Rolly Romero. If he also knocks out Rayo,
well, that'll be a nice feather in his cap and add to his momentum.
The caveat.
The Lomachenko fight, if it were going to happen, would have had the promotional backing of not just Amazon Prime, if you even want to call that promotional backing. It would have been backed by ESPN and Top Rank. They would have helped to promote that show in order to sell it. But now that that's not happening, and you're talking about an Usyk Cruz fight, an Usyk Cruz rematch, who's going to promote that?
Not Top Rank.
Obviously not Top Rank. It doesn't involve any of their fighters, so they're not involved at all. So it's not going to be Top Rank.
It's not going to be Mayweather Promotions.
Gervonta Davis is no longer promoted by Mayweather Promotions. They're not involved in his career. And Usyk isn't with Mayweather Promotions. He's with Manny Pacquiao Promotions.
So they're going to be at the helm of promotion?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll leave this assignment to Tom Brown. Maybe they'll have Tom Brown promote it. TGB Promotions.
He's the registered promoter for Gervonta Davis's last fight.
But when it comes to the promotion for Gervonta Davis's last fight, Gervonta Davis, in his own words, said that the promotion for the Frank Martin fight, the promotion was ass.
Why did he say that?
Because you don't have Showtime acting as a megaphone to promote your fights anymore. Amazon isn't giving you the budget that Showtime was giving you.
And even if Amazon Prime is a bigger platform than Showtime, it's not a platform that people conventionally go to for boxing.
If you want boxing, you go to DAZN, you go to ESPN. You don't really go to Amazon. And if you've been paying attention, the last 3 cards the PBC did on Prime, none of those cards got much push. None of them got much promotion because Amazon is not invested. They're just a distributor. This is just a distribution deal.
They ain't gonna push it. They ain't gonna promote it.
So in terms of promotion, if Gervonta thought that the promotion for his last fight was ass, in his own words, the promotion for his next fight might be ass, because it's down to the same people.
But didn't you just say that the rematch with Usyk might do better numbers than the first fight did because now more people know Usyk?
I did, and that still rings true, because the bar is set so exceptionally low. Gervonta didn't sell anything with Usyk. in that first fight because he was a late replacement and nobody knew him. So next to anything would be a step up, a leg up from that you might be able to sell more pay-per-views this time than you did the last time, because the last time you didn't sell anything.
Almost anything would be better than what you did with Usyk the first time out.
Though with no outside involvement with some other promoter and some other platform to help push and promote the fight, the promotion's gonna be lackluster.
Just like it was for the Frank Martin fight. If he does end up fighting Usyk again. If he doesn't, because Rayo beats Usyk, that takes a little bit of air out of the tires. Now granted that Rayo would be riding high, and that would be the biggest win of Rayo's career, but he has not yet amassed the same following as Usyk, built up over the last 2 years. Believe it or not, Gervonta versus Usyk is a bigger fight than Gervonta versus Rayo. So Gervonta, for his own sake, he better hope Usyk wins.
Usyk's momentum has been built up over 2 years' time, and if he beats Rayo, alright, well, it adds to the momentum. But if he all of a sudden loses to this guy, I never truly believed that Gervonta versus Lomachenko was going to materialize. I want to say that. I was never sold that that fight would happen. Thus, I'm not surprised that they may end up fighting Usyk again. Underneath it all, that's what I always thought would happen.
So because they were trying to fight Lomachenko, it accents the desperation they're now feeling.
Desperation over what?
You didn't sell nothing with Frank Martin. You didn't. You didn't come nowhere near what you sold with Ryan. The pay-per-view buy rate ranges from 150 to 350. Either number is a far cry from what you did with Ryan.
You want to keep doing real numbers so you can keep making real money, you need to fight real opponents, familiar faces. Still, in keeping with your risk-averse and cowardly nature, you're going to mitigate the risks. So now that Vasyl Lomachenko is older and slower and openly courting retirement, now is when you want to fight him.
Because you need to fight a familiar face. You need to fight somebody that has fans of their own. Without them, you're only going to get paid but so much money.
It's desperation. He needs a familiar face. A dance partner who actually has fans of their own. So he's branching out. Outside of the confines of the PBC stable, he tried to. It didn't work out. So now, it's probably back to Usyk.
How predictable.
Because he's not going to fight Shakur Stevenson. I don't think for a second he's going to go into negotiations with that guy. And finally, in men's heavyweight news, earlier this week you might have heard that Robert Helenius has been banned from boxing for 2 years after testing positive for clomiphene in a UCAD test following his defeat to Anthony Joshua last year. Helenius said it must have come from consumption of eggs and chicken meat, but could not provide sufficient evidence of that. This adjudication, took a lot longer to come down than, say, Ryan's conclusion to his doping case with the New York State Athletic Commission. The difference between how doping cases are treated in the UK as opposed to the US. It may take a bit longer for them to adjudicate, but once they do, they make it stick. And it sticks for a long time, as opposed to the paltry 10 months.
It's supposed to be a year suspension, but it's backdated 2 months to when Ryan fought Devin.
You've often heard me say that the commissions here in America have a revolving door policy when it comes to fighters that test positive for banned substances. That even when the hammer comes down and they do issue out a suspension, it's never really very long.
Because it's not, it sends the wrong message.
Scare the bejesus out of that many more fighters if they were not able to make money from their trade, from their craft, the sport of boxing, for upwards of 2 years like Robert Helenius or 4 like Zolani Tete.
Zolani Tete.
They threw the book at that guy. His career is basically done.
Zolani Tete.
And so is Roberts, in a manner of speaking, given his age. This guy's been around since both the Klitschko brothers were active, a remnant of the Klitschko era, given his age now and the length of the ban. Yeah, his boxing career is pretty much done too, unless he wants to keep boxing well into his 40s when the suspension is lifted.
He might.
What's the benefit to taking clomiphene anyway?
Well, clomiphene, for its intended use, is intended to enhance ovulation in women, but in men what it enhances is testosterone production. Thus, you could see why an aging fighter might take it.
You know, because men don't produce as much testosterone in their mid to late 30s as they did when they were in their 20s. So that pretty much takes care of that. Just in keeping with the theme of all things Anthony Joshua, Farrell Crotch and Anthony Joshua have now settled their feud. Froch has revealed, I think we're seeing eye to eye. We've had a good exchange of messages. He's got respect for me, I've got respect for him, and I wish him all the best. He actually said he'll be coming on my channel in the near future.
Do it for the gram, Carl.
For the algorithm. Froch added, in reference to a potential Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury showdown, Froch said, boxing's all about timing. Tyson Fury was on the piss, weren't he? I'm not giving him stick, but the good ones. We don't drink between fights because he's been seen out in Maricam having a drink and he's 36.
This upcoming August.
I just think, timing-wise, Anthony Joshua will probably knock out Tyson Fury. AJ will go into that fight believing in himself, and he knows Fury has just been beaten, struggling a bit and past his best. I think the smart money would be on a close win or a knockout win for Anthony Joshua. Do you think that he's saying this because he made amends with Anthony, or is this his real evaluation of that fight?
I think it's his real evaluation. Don't forget that Carl actually picked Usyk to beat Fury.
So did I. They're supposed to be having their rematch later on this year. I think that Usyk's going to beat him again, quite honestly. I think that Usyk, underneath it all, knows that the deck is somewhat stacked against him, that they have plans for Tyson Fury, to put him in the ring with Anthony Joshua, and the next time out, you can't really leave it in the hands of the judges. They might screw you.
They might try to.
While Alexander Usyk is something like 1 or 2 years older than Tyson Fury, he takes care of himself in between fights where Tyson Fury does not, as Farrell Crotch mentioned. So soon after the fight, so soon after the loss, what's Fury doing? He's pounding down drinks.
Slamming down beers.
Slamming face first into the concrete. And I understand that he's within his rights. It's a free country. But it is like Carl said, the fighters, the really good ones, they don't drink in between fights, and Fury knew he's gonna fight Usyk again.
So what does it mean for the Joshua fight if he loses again?
If he loses to Usyk, well, it's not the end of the world. Anthony Joshua lost to Usyk 2 times, so if Fury loses to Usyk 2 times, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to be the end of Fury, though I'd wager that Fury, psychologically, is actually a lot more fragile than people realize.
My honest opinion is he is not as mentally strong as Anthony Joshua, and he never was.
We've been seeing and hearing less and less from Tyson Fury ever since the loss. We barely see him, we barely hear from him, a fact I'm very thankful for.
Thank God.
Hearing less from Big John Fury, Big Blowhard Fury, Tyson Fury's father, it's a breath of fresh air. All of it. But you have to wonder, what's the corner situation going to be? Because it was pretty chaotic during the Usyk fight with Sugar Hill Stewart being there and Big John Fury being there. Is he even going to keep using Sugar Hill Stewart moving forward, or will he hire someone else?
Questions that need answers.
How it relates to a potential Joshua showdown is if he goes in there with Usyk again and he gets beat again, he gets beat twice, that does affect the marketability of an Anthony Joshua fight. It's going to become that much more obvious that Anthony stops this guy, and that's always been my prediction. Anthony knocks him out.
But it'll become that much more apparent to that many more people if Usyk stops him first. If Usyk is the first to do it. And you never know, he might.
If he does, it hurts the marketability of an Anthony Joshua showdown.
They might need to allow Fury time to get himself back in the winner's bracket and rebuild himself just a bit before putting him in the ring with Anthony. The problem with that is he's older than Anthony. Time isn't on his side.
If they put him in there with him straight away, he's going to get knocked out straight away. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.